time.
Gentlelady reserves her time. The gentleman from California.
You have 3 minutes. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Bishop.
The gentleman from New York is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank for yielding. I rise in opposition to this legislation, and I'm going to focus my remarks on the credit hour piece of the legislation. The federal government has, the Department of Education has established a minimum standard for the credit hour. This as being derided as taking away institutional flexibility. It's being described as a federal overreach. It's being described as onerous. It's being described as dangerous. Let's read the regulation. The regulation says that a credit hour is an amount of work represented in intended learning outcomes and verified by evidence of student achievement that is, here's the part I want us to pay attention to, an institutionally established equivalency that reasonably approximates not less than 1 hour of classroom instruction for 15 weeks per credit hour. An institutionally established equivalency. That places the responsibility for determining what a credit hour is where it belongs, with the faculty and with the accreditor of that particular institution, so long as it complies with a minimum federal baseline or minimum federal standard. Now, with respect to overreach, with respect to how dangerous this is, with respect to how onerous this is, let's be clear. This very definition of a credit hour has been the law in the state of New York since 1976. We have some pretty good institutions in New York that have managed to survive even in the face of this so-called onerous regulation. Columbia University is one of the best universities in the world. So also is NYU. So also is Fordham. So also is Syracuse. This has been the law. I administered a school in the state of New York. Our cost of compliance for complying with the credit hour regulation was exactly 0. And we were able to create all kinds of innovative programs, a semester at sea, cooperative education, internships, truncated courses that met in accelerated time formats for 4 and 5 weeks, all because we established an institutional equivalency that was agreed to by our faculty and agreed to by our accreditors. That's all this regulation does. So for us to describe it as if it's going to end higher education as we know it and is going to stifle innovation and be onerous to students and add to the length of time for their degree programs, simply not true. We have a 35-year experience in New York that says that this regulation works just fine. Lastly, let me say, we define an academic year as consisting of 24 to 36 credit hours. That's what the federal government says. We say that you need to take at least 6 credit hours in order to be minimally eligible for financial aid, and yet we don't define the credit hour. So we base a great many of our judgments on what a credit hour is, yet we don't define it. Let's vote against this regulation. Pardon me. Let's vote against this piece of legislation. Thank you very much.
Gentlewoman from North Carolina.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to point out very briefly